May numbers for the Reading Country Club. Again, never to transparency, we have them up on the board so that everybody could see it and ask questions. This is one of the things that we're doing as well. I know this is also on the website already, so this is already on the website before our meeting even started today. So, John,
right,
take it away.
This is the typical monthly financial report that comes out of the accounting office. There'll be some minor changes to it, not a lot, because it's still in the draft form until all the revenues are posted. There was a good month this past month. We took in $181,000 in revenue and had $195,000 in expenses. The deficit in the fund.
That's year to date.
It's year to date, I'm sorry. The deficit to date is $13,955, which is a reduction of about $60,000 from the prior month. So it was a good month all around. A couple other reports that we're doing. Want to put the next page up? This is a report that we're producing mostly for internal purposes, but we'll show it every month. This is for 18. We have it year to date for 19. I'll post it all well. But it shows the revenue and expenses per round each month by the various categories. So you can see how much money is coming in based on per round of golf played and where the money is going in expenditures. It's interesting to note after the month of June, which has the highest amount of revenue per round, it begins to decline. So while we're close this month in terms of with meeting with the deficit, you need to be a little bit cautious going forward because revenues will begin to decline in the current month, even though you're still cutting the grass. A lot of it has to go with while 18 this is the stuff for 18. There are more outings in 19 than there were in 18, so that might drive the revenue up a little bit. But it's, as I said earlier in the year, it's going to be close where we're going at the end of the year. I want to put up the next one. This is a report that is generated each month, and we'll do a year-to-date. It lists the number of rounds played per day with the weather. It's on the left-hand side, day to week, the weather, number of rounds. And then we break the number of rounds down by the various categories. How many are residents, how many are public, it means a non-resident, whether there was a league play for 9 holes, 9 holes of resident, 9 holes public, how many rounds were played by outing or an RCC tournament. So you'll capture this month every month. I get this report every week, and we'll do a year to date so you can see where the rounds are being generated from. I think this is a good data source as well, so you can get an idea where the revenues are coming from, whether it's resident, non-resident, or the outings, or whatever it is on a monthly basis, or when you count it annually. Down at the bottom, if you want to get down to the bottom, the revenue for each one of the categories is totaled up, and there's a percentage of where the balance of the revenue is coming from, and the number of rounds totaled. Just it's another data point that shows what's occurring at the country club. In the far right-hand side is the total number of, not in this particular one, but in the one for 2019, is number of rounds played in the prior year, in the prior month. So it's not on this particular one, I don't believe.
Yes.
Is it?
21-19. So
21-19. Right. So you can see that more rounds were played this year than last year, primarily due to the weather, which is very helpful this past weekend. Not so much today, but that's the weather drives the activity in the country club, and the better weather, more play. And it's rarely showed up this year. And lastly, we don't have this graphic. We just got this report in today. You may recall earlier in the year we had an agreement with Golf Now. Is that right?
We did, yeah.
Yes. We got a report. Derek brought it in today in the month of whatever last month was. That source brought in 139 rounds with a total of $4,800, which is a good lead into the bringing in more traffic than we would normally get. So I think, things are moving along really well. It's close, it's going to be close now. It's not going to be going one way or the other until the end of the year. It's just stabilizing.
I just had one question. Are we able to kind of cross-check the Golf Now people that played and booked through that, as opposed to have they booked either in person or through the RCC website? Like, are those Golf Now people that haven't? And I know you don't know this.
I don't know. I'll ask.
Can we check that? I was just curious to see if.
Well, you can do it. I mean, a lot of times, the issue we had prior with Golf Now is we bartered and gave away 3 times,
Mhm. That makes sense.
And those people did not repeat customers.
Okay.
They were not repeat customers, so we can check on that. But the nice thing that Derek, I think, was able to negotiate now is he's giving nothing away.
Mhm.
Golf Now is come under a lot of pressure, I think, by a lot of different clubs around the country. They're wanting to get business back, so they're not requiring a barter amount. They're trying to back in good graces and doing this as a service and making a percentage.
Okay.
So this is incremental cash in our pocket without giving money away.
Yeah.
So it's actually by us changing suppliers last year has led to this, which is going to generate more revenue.
Great.
I had a couple comments.
Yeah,
but just looking through the numbers, I mean, the first slide, May was excellent. It's, from what I recall, going back 6-7 years, it's the best May we've seen for revenue. The year-to-date numbers, this report shows year-to-date numbers, so you have to go back to April report to figure out the May.
Yeah.
But it's about $92,000, $93,000, which 2016 was like $89,000, so that's great. The profitability-wise, what happens on the expense side, the way golf courses operate, is there's always not one-time expenses, but yearly expenses. So the month of May looks like the profit's only $15,000, where it's probably about $38,000 to $40,000 because you pre-purchase. A lot of our chemicals come from China and overseas, and if you pre-purchase in January, with the agreement to pay, when they arrive for the year, they come in May. So we
Right.
spent $30,000 on chemicals in May, and that carries us through the year.
That's correct.
So if you actually look at it, so it's really only, the charge for May should be like $5,000 per month. So, we're in really good shape
Right.
with that.
Yes.
And I think, the next slide, just one comment.
Which one, the weather?
No, not the weather one.
The per rounds. Yes.
The current person running operations arrives sometime in May. I think the anomalies when people look at these numbers,
Right.
January, February, there's bookings up there in January, February, which are not real.
Right. There's no question.
But it's a
there's
good
anomalies,
report.
Right?
It's a good
And
report.
when you have to report like this, you look for the anomalies. You want to find out what's different one month than next so you can understand it.
And it's the caution, the wind,
Right.
basically. But I mean, I guess what I want to say is I don't want to have someone spend a lot of time on that.
No, it's not.
But that money, January, February, would have occurred in June, July, August. So
That's correct.
assuming you don't know for sure to put it
Right.
down.
That's correct.
So it's something to keep on.
Yes, it is. Right.
Yes, Derek's done a great job. I think we need to stay disciplined, continue to look at the numbers every month, and continue to try to drive the revenue up as we've been doing. I think it's a good story, and we just got to keep working at it.
I just had one question too. For line item 41,961, Union Health and Welfare,
Okay.
there was 0 budgeted, but year to date it looks like there's like $9,051.
That's their health.
I guess so that looks like, we're 9,000 down against budget.
Right.
But if there was nothing budgeted,
It's just a mistake not putting the money in there.
okay. So at the end, I'm just saying so at the end of the year, if you extrapolate that out, it's probably going to be like 30,000. So it was almost like if we're 30,000, above what we budgeted, really we'd almost be even.
Right.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I don't look at it as revenues and expenses against the budget. I look at it as revenues and expenses against one or the other.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'll look at to see if, I've always watched the numbers.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go over the budget and some of these errors that occurred during the process. Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, I just wondered. I just was alarmed to see a 0 and then 9,000. I just was curious.
No, it's good to look at it, but management and I guess the philosophy, more rounds and more revenue is a good trend.
Yes.
You have a question, Phil?
Yeah, that's
Just
still
give your
does.
name. Just give your name.
Philip Barge, 370.
We know you have to give it.
That still doesn't include all the passes that were sold, correct? Because as you use a pass,
Yes.
it comes on the report.
Any
Okay.
unused passes are realized as revenue in December.
Okay,
Like December 31st.
do we know what that portion of revenue that's still to be used is?
Yes, it's carried in a liability on the books.
Okay.
I will report that next month, so we have it.
I appreciate it.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Phil.
I think that also, I will say that was a very detailed report. And
Thank you.
I think this
And it's also on the website. You can look at
I already
it.
looked at it.
Next, my favorite topic, fireworks. I think a 5-minute recess.